Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on our clothes dryer. I took this apart to clean out all of the lint, put it back together, and the belt came right off the idler pulley arm back there. Took it apart again and found, sure enough, one of the roller wheels here that support the drum had seized up. So today we're going to be replacing the roller wheels here and on the front. The kit that I purchased also comes with a new idler arm pulley here and a belt. So we'll replace those as well. This is the clothes dryer model. I'll put this info in the description below. And here's the parts kit that I ordered from Amazon. This is not sponsored in any way, but I will put a link to this in the description below. As you can see, it comes with 4 of the drum roller wheels. And it comes with the replacement idler arm pulley assembly, and the spring goes with that, and a replacement belt. So here's one of the original rollers, but you can see this still spins nice and smooth and free. That's how it should work. This one here was our problem. I popped this off to take a look, but as you can see here, this does not want to spin. Now, to replace these roller wheels, it's easy enough just to pop off that plastic clip and pull the wheel itself off. But if you're going to replace the bolt here, you've got to get this back piece off. And so to do that, there are 4 screws, 2 on the side and 2 on this side from the outside back. So here's a view looking down from the back. You can see one of the screws here and one down there, and there's 2 on the other side. There are also 2 more screws up at the top that you access from the back, here and here, for this panel. Once those 2 screws are removed, we'll unclip this wire harness here, like so. We'll also have to remove a Phillips head screw right down here, because the heating element is inserted into a piece of that panel. So in order to free that, we have to make sure this is free as well. All right, now with all those screws free, you can lift this back panel up off of these little hooks that are holding it in place, like this, and you'll see it comes free. And so we can just walk that a little bit forward, like so. Allow the heating element to rest on the bottom. Now, if your model has a steam feature, before you can remove this back panel, you'll notice that there's a water line that comes up here and attaches to it. So I unclipped one of the plastic ties that holds the tube in place, and I'm just going to spin this panel out and around to give me room to access those nuts on the back. Kind of rest it up against the side. Okay, these nuts on the back are a 17 millimeter. You can use a 17 millimeter socket wrench. And then on the front here, I just used an 8 millimeter crescent wrench to hold right here. So while you hold that front piece or bolt with the crescent wrench, you can put your socket on the back and then give this a sharp pull to unlock it. I've already unlocked this one. Take off the nut and the washer and pull that out like so. Do the same thing here for the back. Just reach in and grip that axle in the front with your crescent wrench and give that a pull. Pop off the nut and the washer, and then you have your wheel. Alright, so we'll open up one of the new roller wheels here, and you can see that it has already been mounted, and we just need to reuse the nut and the washer. So we'll feed this through from the front, and we'll reattach the washer and the nut there. And just to be clear, I neglected to mention there is also a washer on the front side of the back panel. So you're going to have your bolts go through, you have a washer in between, bolt's going to go through that way. Then we're going to put the washer in from the back side, and then we're going to attach the nut like that. So the back panel will be pinched between these two washers. So the view from the front here, just to show you, I'm going to put the washer on like that, and then we're going to push this through the panel. It's going to sit there like that, and on the back we'll put the other washer and the nut. Okay, so now the same deal in reverse, and we'll put the socket wrench on the back and tighten this down. And once that's tight, we'll move on to the next one. Same thing for the other side here. Put the washer on like so, feed this in, and then from the back the other washer and the nut. And then we put the nut on top of the washer here from the other side, and then we'll tighten that down as well. We can put this back panel back onto the rear of the unit. Okay, so we hung the back panel on the clips there, so before we screw it in, we'll make sure that we've reconnected all of these wiring connections. So we'll lift up the harness and we'll twist that clip back to hold it in place, and we'll clip this back like so, put it in its channel. We'll also reconnect the heating element. To make sure that the heating element's fully seated, you want to make sure that it is seated in the clips against the back panel, but also right here there are little slots that you want to make sure that is seated in. Now with this in place, we'll reattach the 6 screws in the back. The 2 on this side, the 2 on this side, and those 2 up top. And we'll reattach the screw here at the front of the heating element assembly. Now we'll do the front 2 rollers. These are on the inside of the front panel that goes around the front of the drum. Take the new wheel. We have the washer on the front, push that through. You have the washer for the back, and then the nut. Get that on by hand. Grab your socket and your crescent wrench, and we'll tighten that down like so. All right, same deal for the last one. Okay, so now all 4 of the roller wheels have been replaced. We're going to set this to the side. Okay, now to replace the idler wheel puller assembly, I have the new one here. It's going to go on the back with a single Phillips head screw that's going to come in like so. And if you haven't already, just disconnect the spring that attached here, and then we'll take off the Phillips head screw from the back. It may be a little tight. Now to reattach the new one, you're going to have this clip here. There's a sensor, which basically is to prevent the motor overload. You're going to want to make sure that the idler wheel assembly has this clamp attached to this plate and that hook underneath this switch, like so. And you'll see that it fits in place like that, so that if it trips, meaning that the belt slips off, this will fall down instead of being upright. And when it does that, that'll trip off and prevent the motor from running. Now to make sure that you have that screw in correctly, when it's all the way in, you should have free movement of this assembly. If this screw goes in and tightens the assembly to the bracket and you have trouble lifting this, it's not in properly. So check that when you tighten this down. So this is now in the fully tightened position, and there's just enough play to allow this to move. So before we move on here, we want to make sure to attach the spring. So to do that, lift it up, drop the spring on top of the bottom bar, and you'll see a little notch that it will clip into, and then that will have an opening on top of the idler wheel assembly itself so that it will hook like so. When you pull this up, the spring then is under tension, and that's what we're going to use when we attach the belt. Now, replacing the belt is not that big of a deal. Once you get the drum out, as shown in my previous video, it is going to sit loose on the drum like so. So you can just simply pull it off like that. And then we'll attach the new belt and make sure that the ribbed side is facing down towards the drum like so. And get that over the drum, kind of right in this middle notch. Yeah, you can lift the drum up pretty much by the belt. It's fairly light, and then slide it into the frame all the way to the back, and then just let the belt rest. The drum may fall forward a little bit, that's okay. Now before we connect everything up, I just want to show you here with the drum back out why you have to connect the belt with the ribs facing inward. And that's because the attachment point to the motor itself, you want to have aligned with the ribs on the belt, like so. But you also need to have the belt go underneath the idler wheel pulley assembly and up. And then these two ends of the belt are going to go around, wrap around the drum. And when this is all connected, this will keep this idler wheel assembly in tension, like so, and you'll be able to rotate your drum. If your belt breaks or you have a problem or this slips off, that's when that idler wheel pulley assembly snaps down, and that throws the safety switch and prevents the motor from spinning the drum. Okay, we've reconnected the belt, and you can see that it comes down here from the drum. It goes around the bottom of the pulley. You have to pull the pulley up and keep that spring under tension. It goes around here, and then it goes around the back of the wheel on the motor, and then underneath, and then back up to the belt. And when that's connected properly, you can gently turn your drum, and you'll see that it spins smoothly. There's a view from the other side on the bottom, showing how the belt comes up and around to the right side of the drum. And you can see the spring under tension there. Now with that belt attached on the drum, we can put the front panel back on. We'll make sure that the drum sits on the new drum roller wheels. And just lift that up and kind of get those wheels in place like that. Once those are hooked on the bottom of the drum, you can take and attach the front panel to the frame on those hook assemblies. Before attaching the screws, just make sure that your drum rolls smooth and that your belt stays in the groove on the top of your drum. And give it like 1 or 2 full rotations. Once your 4 screws are back on and that's in place, don't forget to connect up your wire harness here. And we'll also reconnect the plastic parts that cover the exhaust fan. These will be 2 Phillips head screws, and you have to make sure that this piece is set into a notch on the bottom like that. And then you just reattach this housing, slipping it up on top like so, lining up your screws so that it sits on that housing. You have 1, 2, and 3 screws. Okay, once those screws are in and that's in place well, you can slip in your lint trap back inside like so. And now the rest of the reassembly will go just pretty much as shown in my previous video. All right, let's plug it in and give it a shot. Okay, there you have it. Sounds quiet. Drum is spinning smoothly. And that's it for fixing the dryer. Thanks very much for watching.